Well, tonight we are learning more about what happened inside this apartment in Tallahassee that ended with a man jumping from a second-floor window before being shot by a Tallahassee police officer who says he pointed a gun at them. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Channing Frampton.
And I'm Ava Van Valen. Court documents outline what happened inside an apartment where we now know two people were being held against their will. It all started with a traffic stop Thursday night on Ocala Road. Police say they pulled over a suspicious vehicle with two men, a woman and a child inside. While one man was out of the car talking to police, the other slid into the driver's seat and took off, hitting an officer. Police eventually caught up with them at the Valencia complex off of Tennessee Street.
Now, here's where those court documents come into play. We now know that Hatton and the man shot by an officer were parked outside of the complex when they approached the victims asking for help. According to court documents, the victims let Hatton inside their apartment. That's when a man and the child, who was identified as Hatton's daughter, showed up. Documents show that the suspect saw a handgun in the home and started carrying it. The victims told police they were ordered into a hallway with Hatton taking one of their phones. At some point, one of the victims was able to attack the suspect, allowing the other to escape. And shortly after that, police say the suspect jumped from this second-story window. That's when police say he pointed a gun at an officer, and that officer, fearing for his life, shot at him.
This is the fourth officer-involved shooting since March of last year. All officers in all three of the cases were cleared by a grand jury, with the jury finding the use of force was justified. Soon, a jury will have to decide if force was justified in this case. So tonight, we're looking at what happens once the case gets in their hands. ABC 27's Veronica Vernaccio is taking a closer look tonight.
Well, Ava, all of TPD's officer-involved shootings in recent years were brought to a grand jury. Now, why is that the case? Well, I brought that question to State Attorney of the 2nd Judicial Circuit, Jack Campbell, to find out.
Are most TPD cases taken to a grand jury?
All the cases in the 2nd Judicial Circuit, actually I'm the 3rd state attorney in a row, so at least for the last 40 years, that has been the practice.
State Attorney Jack Campbell says because of the use of deadly force by law enforcement, the state attorney's office wants the community to be involved. Nathan Prince is a local criminal defense lawyer.
Just because they're going to a grand jury doesn't necessarily mean that there's any reason at all to think that there was anything inappropriate or unlawful done by the officer.
He says in most officer-involved shootings, like the one involving Tallahassee police at Valencia Square Apartments Friday, the state attorney will take the case to the grand jury to allow the public to be involved. The grand jury is similar to a regular jury, 15 to 21 community members randomly selected of different ages, sex, and race. It takes 12 members to convict. The jury serves for 6 months, with the latest group just being seated in March. For their protection, their identities are secret.
What happens most of the time when they're doing an officer-involved shooting is that the state attorney will just say, here's what we think happened based on the evidence available. We don't think they did anything wrong. You should return a no true bill.
A no true bill is when the grand jury dismisses charges against the defendant, also called a no bill. Prince believes this ends up being the verdict because
most of these are totally lawful shootings with absolutely no basis for an officer to be indicted.
Even still, it's up to the grand jury to make the final decision. Now, part of that evidence is body camera footage, and Chief Revel has said that the footage that was taken at the Valencia Square Apartments shooting is actually going to be released to the public before the grand jury convenes. Now, this is very different than those 3 shootings we saw in 2020. But for now, reporting live outside of the courthouse, Veronica Vernaccio, ABC 27.
Thank you, Veronica. When new developments happen in this case, you can find them first on WTXL.TV along with the ABC 27 app. Right now, you can find a look at our coverage from Friday when the shooting first happened, plus more details about what the victims say happened while they were being held hostage.